Welcome back, fellow aviation lovers and enthusiasts, to the Frontier Virtual Podcast. Joining me is a bunch of the guys. I'll introduce them in a sec. Welcome to episode 19, everybody. Don't worry, I didn't think we could do it either. I know it's been a while, about 2 months, I believe, since the last live stream. So thank you for sticking with us. I do appreciate it. I am Infinite Flight, your host and captain on today's episode. Joining me in the right-hand seat as my first officer on today's leg is the wild and manly prehistoric Drew. For those joining us live, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching as a pre-recorded episode, I hope your questions got answered, or at the very least that you felt the need to retract them because you got your answer. Welcome, one and all. You can find us on our social media sites, including our website, Frontier Virtual Airlines, if.weebly.com, and our Instagram page at FrontierVA. If those places, if you ask any questions there and we never respond, you'll find out why. Today's episode, we will be discussing Frontier Virtual Airlines, or what is now the defunct and former FVA. Yes, that is correct. For those who are not aware, this ULCC, best known in the flight simulator Infinite Flight, shut its doors a mere week or more after our last podcast episode. Today, we will be discussing its fate and our future plans. Joining us is former staff Daniel, working behind the mechanics and monitoring the live stream today. Deadheading with us in our jump seats is Captain Wilson and Senior Officer Ryan Green. Welcome, gentlemen, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, Ryan. For those who are new to this, we did have Ryan and his brother on a previous episode. Drew, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, everyone?
And if you're a longtime listener, Drew is also somebody you're going to be familiar with. And last but not least, the amazing Captain Wilson. Wilson, welcome to this podcast.
Hello.
I can't remember. Is this your first podcast?
Probably.
Wouldn't surprise me, but I'm glad you're here. We're happy to have you, and welcome to the podcast, your first episode. Well, everybody, for those who are unaware, this is going to be kind of our explanation for you in what exactly happened with the channel, with the airline itself, and why we have not been uploading any episodes. For those, if you remember the last episode, I believe it was the last episode, I stepped down as Chief Executive Officer of the airline that I created 2 years ago, 2016. And we had Captain Matt, who is unfortunately not able to be with us today, and we had Daniel, who is here with us, both acting as co-chief executives. Things have changed a lot since then. Daniel took a break from FVA and Infinite Flight, and Matt kind of went his own path. So we're all still one big family in the FVA Slack. It's just things are a little bit more complicated. The main thing is Frontier Virtual Airlines is no longer a virtual carrier, but #rumors. I'm just going to let you guys decide what that means. And we're going to start this episode by just kind of warming up, and I'm going to go one by one with you guys. Drew, let's start with you, my man. What's been going on in your life? How's it been? What's up since the last episode?
Yeah, of course, I'm first. Been working.
Hey, man, you gotta put the bar for the rest of them.
Yeah, set the bar low. Work.
That's my plan.
That's about it. You know me. Work,
Have you done
school.
any spotting over at Fort Myers?
No, I don't got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Come on, man.
No.
How's life been, though? You been busy? Keeping up?
It's been working. Back to
That's
school
good.
time, so we've been busy.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Have you dabbled at all in Infinite Flight in a while?
a little bit.
So you keep your subscription running
I
right
did
now?
actually. I stopped it for about a couple months, and then I bought one like last week, and I've been kind of doing patterns and stuff like that. Nothing crazy, but
Yeah,
maybe
I'm kind of in that same boat as you. I discontinued for about 2.5 months, and then I just bought a subscription back. So we'll see how this goes.
maybe do a
Hey.
little internal flight sometime.
Yeah,
Question?
we'll have to have a giant Slack flight for old time's sake. That would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And Mr. Ryan Green, what's up in your world? How's private flying? And what's it been since the last time we had you on board?
One word: busy. Work, personal life. Captain Wilson knows about all that flying life. I've been working on my instrument rating, and it's just really kicking my butt. Yeah, haven't flown in probably 2.5 months because I'm trying to get this written up out of the way. Like everyone knows, that's the most important part. The flying's not the hard
Absolutely.
part; it's the written that just doesn't
So,
make any sense.
since you said you haven't flown in a while, is that going to impact how many or how much you're allowed to fly? Like, are you just able to jump back in the cockpit and just fly like normal, or do you have to do something else if you've been absent from flying for a while?
Well, I've only been gone for like only 2 months, but before I went, took my laps in flying. I did my currency flight to take passengers up, so I still have about a month left on that, so I can um, still legally fly with passengers and by myself. My brother and I are thinking about taking a trip down to my local class, Charlie, just for you know, talk to ATC and just to make sure I still have the skill set tomorrow.
It's always a good plan.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, how's your brother? Is he hanging in there? Because for those listening, and we had Ryan's brother on the last episode. So how's he doing?
He's doing good. He's been flying a lot more than me. Um,
I
doing
bet.
Yeah. He's trying to get me to come fly, and I've been just worried about studying and stuff. So yeah, he's about 30 more hours than me just because I've been working on the ground stuff and he's been working on the flying stuff.
Yeah, I almost wish I'd gotten into that private aviation. That sounds like a very interesting world. And
It's never too late to start. Just saying, it costs a lot of money, but it's never too late to start.
I guess that's true. It's almost like a bucket list thing at this point that I want to, at some point, at least have some sort of GA flight. Um, do you still have ambitions or plans on moving over to commercial aviation at any point?
Of course, I have a buddy, won't disclose his airline, but he's been kind of my role model to get everything done. He went to this regional carrier um, at the age of 21, so right when you can get a type rating. And he's been there ever since, and he's just kind of been motivating me to do it.
Nice. And I hope one day to at least be able to see you in that right hand seat for your first time as a commercial officer. That would be fun, especially if I know the flight beforehand. You can bet I'll be on that flight.
Oh yeah, I would love to have you on my first flight,
As long as I know that you're not going to kill me just because it's me. That's all I
bro.
ask.
Of course not.
All right. Well, that was Ryan. Ryan, great to have you here. We're going to move real quick on over to Mr. Wilson, or as I like to call him, Captain Wilson, because he is a pilot, and maybe one day he'll agree to talk to us more in a further episode. But Wilson, welcome to the podcast. What's up in your world? How's life going? And just give us the 411.
I'm pretty lazy.
Be lazy. That sounds. You and Drew should get together and be lazy.
Don't do nothing at all. So,
So, do you want to maybe? I don't know if you can, but do you want to disclose what you do for a living outside of laziness and slack?
I fly a little bit.
You fly a little bit, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit in the U.S. probably.
Oh, Northeast, a little bit like that.
One
Down
that's
in Florida.
Ooh, you're giving people too many hints.
Yeah, I live in California.
He lives in California, but his nationality is German. Let's see if that one works out. Well,
Yeah.
it's good to have you, Wilson, on the podcast finally. It's nice that I know this episode was kind of spontaneous, but thanks to everybody for, pitching in. I know Drew, Wilson, and Ryan, you guys had me as well. Daniel, everybody had no idea this was happening. So it's nice that we have a bunch of laid back guys in our Slack who are willing to step up and do a live stream at such short notice. So thank you, Wilson, for being here.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to turn it over to the chat real quick. We have Mr. Iowa Aviation, a.k.a. Allegiant Air. Welcome. Thank you for listening in, man. Daniel is in the chat monitoring for us. Thank you for that, man. Drew, who is on the episode's also here. Welcome. Lauren V. Littlejohn, like the name says, hi. Welcome to the episode, man. Thanks for tuning in. Let's just start this episode off. Drew, I think you'd be the most knowledgeable in this of how. Yeah, nah, nobody cares about you, Ryan. Drew, why don't you give us a play-by-play of the last couple days at Frontier Virtual and what was going through your minds when it ended, just to kind of give our viewers a little bit of a insight into what actually happened.
The last couple of days, I think we just kind of, me, you, Daniel, Matt, just like too much work for all of us. We don't really want to put in all the work, and then we just kind of threw in the towel. That's how I took it. But I don't know from your end. I don't know how you took it.
Yeah, there were a lot of factors that played in. I think Daniel leaving, and I told him this when he came back from his break. I was like, Daniel, my man, you're the reason everything ended. Of course, I told him I was joking, but I do believe firmly that all of us, including all the staff, when we just kind of got tired of it after, because the majority of us, did kind of pitch in the towel there after 2 years, because I know Daniel and Matt have been here forever. I don't exactly remember how long you've been here, Drew, but you're like the third or fourth oldest staff here. Yeah, I think you've been here a while.
Pretty rapid. You guys started.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry. I'm just getting bombarded with messages right now. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I think everybody who's been here a bit has kind of all decided universally we're going to pitch the towel in. It's been a great 2 years, and I think once I stepped down and Daniel went on vacation and Matt drifted back off to explain that it was just inevitable that we were going to lose the fight. And so I actually remember the feeling of I was sitting in my room and I was looking at the accomplishments we'd achieved, and it just kind of hit me that nobody has the motivation anymore, including myself, and maybe it would be better to place these resources somewhere else. And I kind of broke it to you guys as staff really suddenly, and you guys had the good graces to just take it, and that's kind of how Frontier Virtual became extinct, and that's why it's been 2 months since our last episode. I don't actually think we plan to have any future episodes. It just kind of out of the moment, all of us had time to do it, and I was like, sure, let's do this. So Ryan, give us your input on what your thought process was when you found out that Frontier Virtual was going down.
Well, as many of you guys know, that I got kind of brought on by some people. I was in y'all Slack for a while, having fun, hanging out with y'all, and I was kind of sad. I remember I was on vacation in North Carolina, and I was in the hotel room just listening to it, and I was like, and I shedded a few tears. I was like, dang, a whole bunch of guys got together, started this. It was like family to me, and I was upset, but hashtag rumors. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was definitely, and I want to say it was the hardest choice as a group that we had to make, because basically what we were saying is 2 years is great, but it's just not worth it, and nobody feel bad about that. It just was taking too much energy. But I remember after giving the order to shut operations down, and I had to kind of confront myself with the fact that, am I really willing to give up this family? And that was when, I believe it was Drew, you suggest, maybe it was Matt, I can't remember. It was one of my staff who suggested, why don't we keep the Slack and we'll just make it into an aviation group. And I didn't really have high hopes for activity. I thought it would just be a dead Slack, but I was, willing to give it a shot. And boy, am I glad that we did that, because as inactive as we are, on a daily basis, we're actually still keeping it up. We got Allegiant, Captain Zach, who's not on the. We have a lot of captains. It's a very interesting process, but Captain Zach, who's also in Slack, hashtag support Southwest. He has been keeping it active with his debates between him, Wilson, and Allegiant on the best U.S. airline. So it's been very interesting, kind of seeing the insight into other people. And we have Allegiant, Zach, Wilson, Drew. I know Daniel's back after being gone for so long, and we've lost a lot of people. We went down. I think we had like 42 members when I announced, and we're down to like 5 active people. But the point is, we're still a family. And like Ryan, like you said, it was just a bunch of guys who kind of came together and thought, this is a possibility. Let's make this a big airline. Let's fly all over the United States, extend into Canada, down into Mexico. We'll make this a dream. And hashtag rumors, but I'm almost, curious to see how the future goes. We're going to turn it over to Wilson. I know, Wilson, you're relatively new to the scene, but go ahead and give us your input, if you can remember as far back as I don't even quite remember everything that happened, but give us your input on, what was going on through your mind when the announcement came through.
I mean, I was busy anyway, so.
I think that's kind of how everybody was.
Way too much going on in my personal life. So, I mean,
yeah, and
literally, it's just like a kind of disappointing, but like, I mean, there's no way I was gonna actually fly in a simulator.
Yeah,
too much flying anyway.
Yeah, it's not like you don't fly in real life.
Only about 8 times a day.
Some of us envy you for that, Wilson.
Also, it's not a go for Southwest.
And be sure, guys, to vote in the poll that Daniel has attached to the stream. I don't exactly know where it is, but I know that it's there. Be sure, guys, to and Daniel. Sorry about that. What we're basically working with is a bunch of us just didn't have the gumption to continue. So Frontier Virtual ended operations pretty much overnight. It wasn't a slow thing. It was just a sudden thing. And we shut down the majority of our operations. The only things we kept alive were Slack. And it's not been that bad, but there are still some future prospects I hope we can work on. So, Drew, we're gonna move it back on over to you. What are your thoughts? And again, this is, there isn't a huge possibility this is going to happen, but what are your thoughts on maybe resurrecting a former piece of what Frontier Virtual stood for, and taking that piece and becoming a shadow of what we used to, but at least we're bringing maybe people back into Slack, where we're continuing the legacy that we used to have? Or to you, is the idea just out of the ballpark? It's just a waste of time.
No, I don't think the idea is out of the ballpark. I mean, we got hashtag rumors going around, so I think some of that legacy will definitely make its presence be felt somewhere, some way, somehow. You'll know that we're still around, we're still hanging out. So, got some work to do. I think it could definitely make another presence somewhere.
Very well said. And yeah, like you said, I am also in agreement that to a degree there's still hope. And for those, for you guys who are just watching and you're like, first off, I didn't even know Frontier Virtual retired, and now you guys have the possibility, hashtag rumors, of coming back. It's like nothing ever happened. So that maybe this, scenario is like, well, why is this even a thing? Because for all I know, you guys have always been around. So this, this doesn't seem top priority. And again, that's mainly because once we shut down operations, that kind of shut everything down. And we didn't have, Daniel around to live stream for us, even though he did offer. I just, didn't want to bug him while he was gone. And so it just kind of ended. And now 2 months later, there's, a possibility. We're just kind of talking it out right now. So, I do appreciate everybody listening in. Ryan, we're going to move on over to you. I know I'm kind of jumping person to person. There will be a time when I'm going to open the floor to you guys and, to see what your feedback is. But I just want to ask you, Ryan and Wilson, you two guys, one last question, then I'll open the floor. Ryan, what are your thoughts on the possibility of a at least semi-legacy return?
I think it'll be great. Frontier was one of those well-respected virtual airlines out there. Even now, it's still a family atmosphere. Everybody treats you like family. Everybody, I would say the VA hype has died down a little bit, but there's always those people that are always looking for our diversity. With that, along with there's always opportunities to grow and expand. So hashtag rumors. If VA does come back, I'll be looking forward to it.
So what you're saying is, and fingers crossed that it's not like Drew said, an out of the ballpark shot. That there's a possibility that it may happen, and that does bring a smile to my face, knowing that the possibility does have support behind it, and that's kind of what I was, and obviously you guys in the chat, feel free to drop your comments on what your thoughts are of the hashtag rumors possibility. So thank you for your input, Ryan. Wilson, I know, like you said, you don't have as much time as you'd like to dedicate, and you got a real world life, so I don't expect hundreds of hours a month dedicated to FVA, but just from your personal standpoint, what do you think the possibility is of the legacy returning, and do you think it's an out of the ballpark shot?
I mean, not necessarily. Like, I definitely won't be flying much. I mean, there's a lot going on, so I mean, it'd be awesome for it to return for people that actually want to fly a lot, and there'd be people that would want to join, obviously. So I mean, there'd be nothing wrong with it joining, coming back. I mean, I'd be around in the Slack at least, help people out, talk to them a little bit. But I mean, I'd be around for it. It would never be a bad thing. There's never a shot you don't want to take. Because if you don't take it, you don't know how it's gonna end up.
I mean, yeah, that's absolutely spot on, and I'm glad to hear that you'd be willing to do it. So thank you for your input. At least you'd be willing to stick around in Slack and help us out. I just wanted to point a comment out. Allegiant said that Robert almost threw up saying Southwest. Come on, man, you're blowing my cover. Anyway, hit that top right card for the if you go to the top of your screen, up where you'd have the normal quality control, there's going to be a little eye with a circle. Hit that. There's going to be a poll there. Should hashtag FVA reopen, hashtag rumor. Why don't you answer that poll for us if you have the time? It'll go a long way if you don't feel comfortable commenting, but you still want your input put in, or if you just don't have the ability to comment, then that's another way you can help support us. So be sure to fill out that poll and drop comments if you have any questions. We're going to open the floor. I don't know if you guys have questions for me, if you guys have questions about, now since, we're talking about this, might as well ask any questions on your mind. So I'll just open the floor. Do you guys have anything on your minds about FVA, maybe issues that a possible return could bring, or complications that maybe you want to talk out in front of everybody, because we are a transparent. Let me say that again. We were a transparent carrier, and I like to feel that we keep that, even if we're no longer an airline. So, do you guys have any questions?
That's an awkward silence.
I was trying to think of some funny joke right there.
I'll break that. I don't have any questions.
See, Robert doesn't have funny jokes, so.
This is what I get to deal with every day, folks. I love it. If you guys have questions in the comments, just drop them down, and I'll ask them. Yeah, Allegiant says they're speechless.
Or not. Maybe they just don't want to talk to you.
Oh, Wilson. So here's kind of how this is going to go. I'm just going to be posing a possible question, and I want you guys to put out your input. And Wilson, if you could just mute your mic real quick for me. Thank you. Sorry. I'm just gonna shout something that could possibly happen. You guys give me your feedback. Guys in the comments, give me your feedback. First thing is first, and this is, again, #rumors. There's no facts behind this. There's no actual concrete plan behind this. This is purely on I wouldn't say spectoral, that wouldn't have worked, on a spectral basis. So what do you guys think about, in this sense, we bring back a portion of what the carrier used to be. It would still be founded in Denver. We would still offer all the flights that we used to. And it would just kind of be, it wouldn't be as strict and to the point that our previous carrier was, unless, of course, people prefer that. And it's just kind of everybody is in Slack. We're enjoying each other. We're bantering back and forth. We're trying not to cry. I mean, what? And just in one of the specific channels, drop a comment saying, I'm going to be doing, a mock Frontier flight 1286, which I know that flight number. That's Chicago to Denver, because I flew that flight. That was my first flight, so that one's always stuck in my head. So, you just type in, I'm flying, FFT or F9er, 1286, anybody up to fly. And probably, especially as we open the doors, if we open the doors, more people will be coming in. So, it's not just going to be the 3 or 4 of us as it normally has. And so, yeah, again, it's just going to be based in Denver. Same fleet we've always had, the Airbus A319, 320, 321, and the CRJ 700. And just there will be, and this is, again, something that I've been thinking about. There's going to be no, it's hard to put it this way. There's going to be no ranks-based system. It's just going to be, you come in, fly a Frontier flight. If somebody else wants to join, great. It's just kind of a laid-back shadow of what we used to be. But the goal isn't to resurrect Frontier Virtual. The goal is to create a semi-virtual airline that will bring, just a happiness to the VA. So what's your guys' input on that?
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of how we kind of died. We just were kind of super chill, but it started being so uptight and, like you said, so many restrictions and all that stuff. So I think that would be better, just to do whatever you want, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, and not restrict people to aircraft or to and for some listening in, this may seem like a horrible idea because maybe you're in a virtual airline that you believe runs perfectly with this system. Be sure to drop a comment on, and we're always welcome to feedback. So if you think this is a bad idea, just throw out some works. Ryan, what's your input?
I actually really like the idea. It's less of a VA, more of kind of like a flying club when you look at it. If you can look at it from that perspective, you know, a flying club has a lot of members, and if one of a member goes out, flies around, goes to an airport for breakfast or dinner or lunch or whatever, usually somebody will tag along, and who doesn't like group flights or flying with someone on infinite flight? So I kind of see it as a group flight with no ranks, no nothing. I like the idea. It'd make me fly more.
Right, yeah, like Riley says in the chat, how can you differentiate from a competition? He's been growing by or going. We're not really trying to compete with anyone. We're just kind of trying to chill and be as a family, as we all discuss. So it's not really competing with other VAs, just kind of be on our own. And if you want to join, sure. If you don't, whatever. Like, no big deal.
I have to admit, Drew, you put that beautifully. I've been reading that comment while Ryan was talking, and I was figuring out how I was going to phrase my answer, and then you just dropped the bomb, and now my answers flew out the window. No pun intended. Riley, like he said, the goal is not to create like the rigid, factually to the wall. This airline's going to mimic the real world, and this is how we're going to do it. Yes, we're going to have limitations on fleet size unless the popular vote says, to make it a universal flying club, it's basically just, group flights. That's still to be developed. But for now, in the possibility universe, it's just the Airbus. But the fact that there is competition would only matter if your only goal is to become a massive VA with a bunch of routes, bunch of aircraft ranks. You got captains, first officers, and your goal is to beat out the competition. If this VA resurrects, I'm hoping that one day there may be the possibility. If it does resurrect, it's not going to be what was before, because I believe what was before was amazing, but it belongs in the past. And I believe we can improve on what the experience we got those past 2 years. So thank you for your question. I do appreciate it. But the answer is the competition. How we're going to differentiate competition is a whole nother world. We're just going to be focused on, our fun family filled flights. How's that for alliteration? Wow. And we're just going to, kick it off, have fun, fly, keep the Slack active, and a very laid back group. And that's kind of what we are now. We're just a bunch of guys laid back, talking, enjoying, bantering. The only addition would just be, we're going to bring our name back. We're going to have episodes back. We're going to have a IFC thread again. We're going to have the applications reopen. That's pretty it. Other than that, it's going to be identical to what we have now. So thank you for your question. I believe, Nismo Kids did ask what's the longest Frontier flight. I believe Drew's right as well. It's Orlando to San Francisco. Thanks for the question. Riley did respond, sounds fun. I'll check it out when and if it becomes a reality. Well, like we said, Riley, #rumors. Again, nothing of what we're talking about at this point in time is ever like fact. It's all just possibility. I know, Wilson, I kind of stepped over you. What are your thoughts on this new resurrection? I'll put it that way.
Only if you open up flights to Hawaii so you can beat Southwest. I guess. But as you can tell, I don't like Southwest that much. But I mean, it'd be neat. More people come flowing in, I guess. Get to know more people. Hopefully the right people, I would say.
Exactly, yeah.
We got a little bit too much going on in the past, but try to handle it well, and then see where it goes from there if we do anything about it. So
That was a great response. Thank you, Wilson. I do agree with you. I have to admit, it's going to be amazing having the possibility of bringing people back, kind of expanding and including our family to embrace a bunch of others and grow and expand. And so I like all that feedback. Thank you, guys. Yeah, Wilson and I are kind of in the same program of that Southwest is not our favorite. But which reminds me, Daniel, that should be another podcast. We should just throw, Infinite Flight and FVA out the window, one podcast, and just have it be, an airline competition podcast. What do you think about that?
That would be interesting. I mean, you got to get Zach on for that.
I know.
For sure.
I think it would be criminal to not have Zach on.
It would be super heated. I would be down to witness that for sure, though.
It basically be a certain airline that I can't name versus Southwest versus Frontier versus possibly Allegiant if Drew decides to stick with that, and then versus private general aviation on Ryan's side. It'd be very, very interesting. I do think that would be an interesting podcast. So leave a comment, or if you're watching this back as a pre-recorded episode, be sure to leave a comment as well and give us your feedback on that. So I'm gonna say we wrap this podcast up. I know it's shorter than our previous ones. The main goal of this was kind of to feel the waters and see what your guys' input was, how you guys would react to the possibilities, and how warm everybody was to receiving the idea. And I think we got some work ahead of us. I think there's a lot of possibilities still on the table, and we're always open to feedback. So if you have any feedback, again, just ask. Don't be afraid, no matter the question. Unless it's if we're flying Boeing, and then I'm going to steam over. No, I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Mr. Dolphin, sorry I didn't notice you there. Welcome to the live stream. Just stand by.
Did you want to get some real world stuff going real quick? Like what happened in Seattle the other day?
Oh,
perhaps?
yeah. Let's see. This is why I have
quick.
Drew on board. This is why he's my first officer. Yeah, Drew, why don't you tell us what happened in Seattle recently?
Well, I think we all know what happened, but
what craziness are those Seattleians getting into?
Boy Rich stole a Dash 8 and just kind of had some fun.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he crashed. But listen to the ATC. It is actually kind of sad the way he talks. But it was pretty interesting to see what happened.
I was actually when I first heard about it, and I made a video for my specific channel. My first instinct was, oh, this guy is a horrible guy. He stole a plane, and not so much as saying, I'm glad he's crashed. I would never, go that far. Just the fact that he stole an airline's plane, he's a bad person for doing that. And then which I think is what a lot of people, think, because they don't want to go into the facts. They'll just read the clickbait headline and be like, oh, this is all there is to it. So if you do listen to the ATC, it almost sounds like the guy who's been identified as being called Rich. That's his name. If you listen, he sounds pretty chill. Just kind of bantering back and forth with ATC, and it really does sound like he just kind of went down that path, and it is very sad. Ryan, what's your thoughts on the Seattle incident?
Well, funny thing. I was scrolling through Twitter late at night, and I forgot who I was following. It said there's been a security incident at SeaTac regarding a stolen airplane. I was like, oh, what idiot threw a stolen airplane? And then I kind of searched, and news articles were already coming out, and I stayed up for 2 more hours just trying to put all the facts together. And I thought it was just like some passenger got loose on a tarmac and decided to steal an airplane. I didn't know, it was an airline employee who, obviously did not have good thoughts. But as I was reading, it's sad. I mean, there's always somebody out there that you can talk to regarding that kind of stuff. I'm sure any people here, if you have thoughts like that, DM them on the IFC, or if you have your email, Slack, or whatever, someone will be here and talk to you. I know I'm always there to talk to anybody about anything, but I mean,
Exactly. Very well said.
I mean, it's sad, but it could have been much, much worse.
Yeah, and I remember after, seeing the incident, and it wasn't even, I don't think, a month prior where a young teen or a young man hopped the fence at one of the regional fields and tried to make off with an American Eagle aircraft.
Oh yeah, that happened not too far away from me.
Yeah, fortunately,
that happened. It was
he
like
never.
2 days ago before it happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, I knew it wasn't too long before.
Yeah, I've been to that airport before, IRL, and yeah.
Yeah, and it's really we're fortunate that nothing escalated, like it did with this Seattle situation, and and for a lot of people there is that side that just snaps, and when there could have been somebody could have been helping them to work that out. So if you ever, like Ryan said, if you're ever in that situation where you feel like it's your last bet, make sure you at least talk to somebody and confide in somebody. Don't do anything that others around you are gonna be sad about. So
Also, I want to say something. You can drink a flute.
Wow.
But I don't want to get started on the plane getting hijacked. That kind of stuff gets on my nerves. And no matter who it is, where it is, it's kind of like a black sheep kind of thing where you're just like, okay, how do you let that happen? It's kind of concerning. It's like the position I'm in. It's like, how does someone do that? I don't care if they work for the airline or not. So.
Yeah, well said, Wilson. Yeah, it's not easy to talk about what the goal is that we get to you if that ever happens before that becomes something that happens. So good feedback on that, guys. That was an interesting and sad incident. I remember I just got home from work and I checked I have an online aviation news site that updates every hour with all the major events, and that was like the top 10 articles were all about that, and I was like, what? So it's sad when that happens, and no matter the situation, there's always something that could have been done to prevent it. So it's a lot of the times you just missing the tiny alarming details which unfold to reveal this sad incident. So thanks for bringing that up, Drew. Yeah, it's sad, but I know that we can work and help people out in that situation. Any other aviation major stories that have been happening? Oh yes, I do remember Delta. For those who don't know, Bombardier renamed basically they sold the majority stake in the Bombardier CS 100 and 300 to Airbus. Airbus then rebranded that to the Airbus A220-100 and -300, and Delta basically before the name change ever happened, Delta had put in orders for the A220-100, and now their first A220-100 has been painted in the Delta colors, and I have to admit it's not a bad looking aircraft. Drew, what's your opinion
about that? It was actually photoshopped.
It was?
There's actually a thread on the IFC about it.
Now I'm disappointed.
It's very interesting how they're just
Delta sucks anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Wilson, we got to save that for the next episode.
So yeah, it's not there yet, but they
will canceled
soon. I believe they will be getting their orders for that.
American Airlines better.
To each their own. So yeah, don't listen to me when I say there's a major aviation news story happening. Drew, any other stories that we should talk about before we close the episode out?
Well, it's actually my bad because I shared the picture first, and I was like, "Go," and it's actually Photoshop. So.
No, you're good, man.
Anything else? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Crazy has happened.
Thanks for joining us, Wilson, Ryan, and Drew. You guys have any final comments before we wrap up? I'm gonna open the floor to all three of you.
Oh, I got a lot of them, but I'm not gonna say them.
Any comments that you can say? Does anybody have any? All right, sounds good. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. This episode is it's been something that should have happened a while ago, and I'm just glad we got it done now. And thanks for tuning in. We're going to close this episode out. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. As always, thank you for joining us live here in the FVA studio. I'm your host, and it was my personal pleasure bringing this episode to you. On behalf of Daniel, Ryan, Wilson, and Drew, thank you guys for commenting, keeping us up, and still putting your trust and faith in what could potentially become Frontier Virtual 2.0. Please keep your earphones in until this episode has come to a full and complete stop. One of our flight members will then be here in the comments section to answer any questions you may have about connecting episodes. If you'd like to find out more about us, please find us on our Instagram page or our website. And you can just head to the top of the episode where I did mention the link to that website. On behalf of this crew operating your episode today and all flying out aboard with us, we thank you for tuning in. And without a doubt, I'll see you in our next live stream episode. Clear skies, smooth landings, everybody. Stay safe.